In hospitality, technology is a complicated problem. For an industry that has historically excelled and set the bar for customer experience, buying technology solutions has not been on the top of the list. Not because hoteliers like to be old-fashioned, but because until recently guests really didn't care. Guests do care about the quality of the mattresses, they care about the wear in the carpets. They care about hot water, air conditioning, and operational elevators. But innovation and competitive advantage in guest experience and comfort is not going to come from installing an elevator or hot water. Those innovations were solved a long time ago. On the material side of comfort, innovation has pretty much plateaued. The future of innovation in guest experience is through technology. In the hospitality industry, and more specifically, the technology side of the hospitality industry, it is often said that technology moves slowly. That hotels don't invest enough in technology, and thus systems are old, and new technology doesn't get adopted fast enough. But if one looks back over the last century, and if we look up from our iPhone and its frantic iteration cycle that we've been accustomed to, things have evolved. 100 years ago, we celebrated elevators in hotels. Today, guests complain if there isn't a ramp up to the front desk. Enterprise technology doesn't evolve fast. From a vendor side, it might, but for the customer side, it doesn't. And those old mainframe computers that were invented in the 1950s, and which most people only get to see in movies, well, they are still selling. In fact, over 70% of the Fortune 500 companies use them. The problem is different in hospitality. Unlike many other industries where customers walk in, take what they need and leave within a matter of minutes, in hotels customers are going to spend hours if not days. Archaic-looking technology at your local supermarket isn't going to affect you much. But in hotels, there are so many additional touch points where our customers need to interact with the property and staff. For centuries, the best hotels knew that and managed that with aplomb. So much so that when Apple decided to reinvent the retail experience, they enrolled all their future store managers into the Ritz-Carlton's leadership training program. Apple's Genius Bars have themselves been modeled on the concierge of a luxury hotel. However, with the frantic pace at which consumer technology has been evolving, our customers are expecting that unbeatable experience to follow. Whereas 50 years ago that was managed by excellent human interactions, today a lot of that experience happens through technology. Not because human interactions are old-fashioned, but because the volumes have grown so exponentially that one would need an army of concierges with those magical human skills to deal with the number of emails, calls, people, chats, and other channels. And because with smartphones and always-on life, people aren't accustomed to waiting anymore. In the early 1900s, running hot water became a thing. It took 15 years for that to arrive in hotels. Before that, in 1831, the first principles of electromagnetic electricity were discovered by Faraday. In 1860, electric light was invented. It still took another 20 years for the first hotel to offer electricity in rooms. One can quite safely assume that in 1880, when electricity was offered as a plus in hotels, there just wasn't a huge need for it. We didn't carry laptops, iPads, or phones that needed charging. So it would have most certainly been considered as luxurious. If it has a marked impact on the guest experience, the technology will be adopted quicker than if it doesn't. So changing one's PMS for the sake of moving to the cloud and saving someone some time isn't going to justify the switch. But spending a whole bunch of money to getting AirPlay or Google Cast set up in all rooms, that's going to get easy adoption. As the saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention. In crises, we get creative and solve problems. The most significant recent innovations in travel recently were Uber and Airbnb. Arguably, the main reason for their success was not the advent of the smartphone, although without technology their success would be questionable, but the financial crisis of 2008 that made thousands of people redundant and desperate to earn a little extra money. Thus both Airbnb and Uber had easy access to supply, and if they can make an offer that is cheaper than the incumbents in an unregulated space, they have a recipe for success. We should expect our industry to see a milestone innovation in the coming few years, born out of the easy access to supply and a recovery that is all but certain, and which is keeping all the incumbents in on the fence wondering how and where to invest the little available money, which is one of the root problems of incumbents versus newcomers. One thing is for sure, people will still need to sleep in a bed, and people will always desire to travel, to escape, to meet, to socialize, to discover, and to impress their friends with the exotic places they have been. In other words, now is an excellent time to list all the things that will not change, and work out how to use the resources and data we have to excel at those. They are what the hotel is selling, and alongside a friendly smile and great staff, they are the very reason hotels exists. Hotels that don't invest in those items go out of business. Technology has always been a lower priority on the budget, some would argue correctly so. But the next frontier in comfort isn't going to come from a faster elevator, a broader shower head, fluffier carpets, or hotter water to the rooms. The majority of the physical comfort elements are already at a very high level. The gap between luxury and good hotels, in terms of features, is relatively small. It is mostly a question of quality now. The next frontier in hotel comfort is going to come from technology. Guests now carry a computer with them wherever they go. Those computers, their smartphones, are their personalized interface to the rest of the world, not just to the virtual world, their whole world. So the exponential increase in guest experience and comfort will come from those seamlessly integrating their physical experience with their personalized digital experience. One can imagine just walking into a hotel and being informed which room to go to without needing to check in at all. One can imagine automatic billing to one's account without needing to discuss with a person or computer. One can imagine opening the Netflix app and easily being able to switch it to the TV. Technology suddenly is no longer a boring capex item that one must put up with in order to issue invoices and debit credit cards, but actually the backbone of the hotel industry's customer experience strategy. An industry that has always excelled at customer experience.